Today we're going to talk about a trade centered around one of the more underrated players from my childhood, someone who's been largely forgotten by today's fans. He's not a Hall of Famer by any measure. He dropped off the ballot without a single vote a few years ago, but he is responsible for one of the greatest pitching seasons of the 21st century. This is the Jake Peavy trade tree. Now, we're not going to start at the beginning for Jake Peavy, but closer to the end, several years removed from his amazing 2007 when he won the pitching Triple Crown and a unanimous Cy Young Award with San Diego. 2012 was a career resurgence for him, and he put up 5 WAR and made the All-Star game for the first time since 2007. But in 2013, he struggled, and at age 32, there was a belief his best days were behind him. His team, the Chicago White Sox, were cellar dwellers, and Peavy had a year and a half left on his contract, so they decided to find a trade partner at the deadline. Now, the 2013 Red Sox were having a great season. The Yankees had finally fallen out of contention, paving the way for Boston to win the AL East, but the Rays had an extremely hot July, and near the deadline they were neck and neck with the Red Sox. Boston wanted to boost their rotation as Clay Buchholz was injured, so they made a deal for Peavy. The final trade involved 7 players and a third team, the Detroit Tigers. So here's the trade. Boston got Jake Peavy from Chicago and reliever Brian Villarreal from Detroit. Chicago received infield prospect Clay Luis Rondon and pitching prospects Frankie Montas and J.B. Wendelken from Boston, and outfielder Avisail Garcia from Detroit. And the Tigers received rookie shortstop Jose Iglesias from Boston. Now, how did the Red Sox and Peavy do? Well, he was solid rotation depth for them after the trade. He put up a 1.02 ERA plus and averaged over 6 innings per start. He did struggle in the playoffs, though, and he only pitched into the 5th inning once in his 3 starts. But it didn't matter. Boston managed to win the World Series, beating the Cardinals in 6 games. Peavy famously bought the duck boat that he rode in for the victory parade. In 2014, the Red Sox fell apart, and Peavy was no exception, putting up a dreadful 1-9 record and an 84 ERA+, the worst since his rookie season, way back in 2002. Boston sold many pending free agents nearing the deadline, and Peavy got moved too. Across his 30 regular season starts in Boston, Peavy had a 5-10 record, a 90 ERA+, and .4 WAR. Peavy was traded with cash to the Giants for young relievers Edwin Escobar and Heath Hembree. Interestingly, Peavy and the Giants won the World Series in 2014. Which makes him one of 10 MLB players to win back-to-back World Series for different teams. Edwin Escobar made 2 relief appearances from 2014 for the Red Sox, and he had a 1.05 ERA plus and 0 WAR in those 2 innings. He spent 2015 in the minors, and he was claimed off waivers in early 2016. Heath Hembree bounced between the Red Sox and AAA for the next few years, getting a handful of appearances each year out of the bullpen. He finally made the team for good in 2017, when he threw 62 innings and had a 1.26 ERA plus. Hembree stayed in the middle of the Red Sox bullpen for the next few years, including making 4 scoreless postseason appearances in 2018 as the Red Sox won another ring. Approaching free agency at the end of 2020, Boston traded Hembree. In his 251 relief appearances for the Red Sox, Hembree had a 15-5 record, a 1.23 ERA+, and 1.8 WAR. Hembree was traded with fellow reliever Brandon Workman to the Phillies for pitchers Nick Pivetta and Connor Siebold. Pivetta is still with the Red Sox, and he's been solid pitching depth for a team that has generally not been that great during his tenure. He spent nearly all his time in the rotation up until last year. He even led MLB with 33 starts in 2022. Last year, he spent about half the season in the rotation and half as a long reliever, and he was surprisingly more effective out of the bullpen, as opponents only batted .166 against him. Across 81 starts and 23 relief appearances, he's got a 31-29 record, a 1.03 ERA+, and 8.1 WAR. Pivetta is expected to return to the rotation full-time in 2024, given the Red Sox lack of depth there, but he's also a pending free agent at the end of the season. And if they're far enough away from a playoff spot by the deadline, I could see him getting traded to a contender. Connor Siebold made 1 start with the Red Sox in late 2021 and 5 more in 2022, and while he'd been elite in AAA, he didn't perform well in MLB. In 21 1/3 innings with Boston, Siebold had a 42 ERA+ and -1 WAR. After the 2022 season, Siebold was traded to the Rockies for cash. Brian Villarreal spent most of the rest of the 2013 season in the minors, and he threw a total of 4 pitches for the Red Sox, giving up a walk-off bases-loaded walk against the Giants. But that was enough to get him a World Series ring. He spent 2014 in the minors and then left as a free agent after the season. So in total, that's 9.3 WAR for the Red Sox, plus 2 World Series titles. Solid return for the trade, plus they still have Nick Pivetta giving them value over 10 years later. Now, how did the White Sox do? Did they get enough value back for Peavy? Well, Rondon didn't reach the majors with them. They released him in 2017. Frankie Montas reached the majors with the White Sox in September of 2015. And he made 2 starts and 5 relief appearances the rest of the year. He was exactly replacement level with an 0-2 record and an 83 ERA plus in 15 innings. And after the season, he was traded. Montas was packaged with second baseman Micah Johnson and outfielder Trace Thompson, and sent to the Dodgers in a three-team deal that also included the Reds. In return, the White Sox got third baseman Todd Frazier. Frazier slotted in as the White Sox starter at third base in 2016, and despite a career-worst .225 batting average, he set personal bests in homers, runs batted in, and walks. He also participated in the Home Run Derby, finishing second behind Giancarlo Stanton. Frazier stayed productive in 2017, despite another career low in batting average with .207. He still hit 16 homers and put up a 104 OPS plus in 81 games. With free agency approaching at the end of the year, the White Sox traded Frazier in July. He finished his time on the South Side with a 106 OPS plus and 5.3 WAR in 239 games. Frazier was packaged with relievers David Robertson and Tommy Kahnle and sent to the Yankees for reliever Tyler Clippard and prospects Blake Rutherford, Tito Polo, and Ian Clarkin. Clippard joined the White Sox bullpen, making 11 appearances over the next month. He put up a great 2.47 ERA plus and .5 WAR in just 10 innings. In August, they sent him to the Astros for cash. And none of the prospects reached the majors with the White Sox. And they all left the organization over the next few years, Rutherford and Polo via free agency and Clarkin on waivers. J.B. Wendelken didn't reach the majors for the White Sox. After the 2015 season, he was traded. He was traded alongside fellow pitching prospect Zach Irwin to Oakland for infielder Brett Lawrie. Lawrie became the White Sox starter at second base for 2016, and he was solid with a 97 OPS plus and 1.2 WAR in 94 games. In July, he injured his leg in multiple places, which ended his season, and he was released before the 2017 season. Avisail Garcia was initially sent to AAA after the trade, but he was called up to the White Sox a couple weeks later, and he had a solid debut with a 109 OPS plus in 42 games. Garcia was named the starting right fielder for the White Sox heading into 2014, but unfortunately he tore his labrum in April and missed most of the season. But when he played, he was solid. He put up a 105 OPS plus in 46 games. The next 2 years were not amazing for Garcia as he adjusted to more playing time. He had an 89 OPS plus each season, which was viewed as underwhelming given his talent. Heading into 2017, some said the season was make or break for Garcia. At age 25, his below-average offensive output hadn't been enough in fans' eyes to make up for his poor defense and base running, but adjustments to his swing resulted in a breakout season for Garcia at the plate. His .330 batting average was second best in the AL, and he made the All-Star game for the first time. Unfortunately, that progress stalled as he missed a lot of 2018 with a hamstring injury, and he wasn't the same when he was healthy. After the season, he left as a free agent. With the White Sox, Garcia put up 6.4 WAR in 585 games. So altogether, the White Sox got 13.4 WAR out of this trade. But they did have to add to get there, and some of their swings didn't pay off. The three prospects they got from the Yankees all left for nothing. But it's still a solid return for a year and a half of a declining pitcher. Now on to the Tigers, the side team in the Steal. Jose Iglesias was in the middle of a phenomenal rookie season, and the Tigers wanted him so they'd have a competent shortstop when their starter there, Johnny Peralta, left in free agency after the season. And when Peralta was suspended for PEDs a week later, Iglesias took over as a starter. His bat wasn't nearly as good the rest of the year, with his average dropping from .330 to .259, and OPS plus dropping from 115 to 78, but between his great start and his solid defense at shortstop, he finished second in AL Rookie of the Year voting. Iglesias then missed all of 2014 recovering from injuries. He returned in 2015 and spent the next 4 seasons as the Tigers' starting shortstop. While his bat never reached the level it had in Boston, and injuries limited him to fewer than 140 games every year, he was a great defensive shortstop, and in his best offensive year, 2015, he batted .300 and made the All-Star game. Iglesias left the Tigers in free agency after the 2018 season. In his 558 games with Detroit, he put up an 83 OPS plus and 7 WAR. So my winner here is the Boston Red Sox. They did get a title with Peavy, and they got another one later with Heath Hembree, and Nick Pivetta has been really good for them the last few years. But the White Sox and Tigers actually did okay there. They both got pretty valuable players. The Tigers in particular did pretty well. They flipped an unproven outfielder and a pitching prospect for 4 years of a decent starting shortstop. Anyways, let me know down in the comments who you think won this trade, any trades you want to see me cover in this format, and I'll see you all next time.